another Access 72 video, and in today's video I'm back with another interview. I'm here with Matt Windle. Matt, how are we?
I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much for coming on the channel.
No, thank you for asking me. I always get a little bit, sort of, I don't know, humbled or whatever, I guess, when people ask to speak to me, whether they've got, a subscriber or a million subscribers, just the fact that people want to take some time out to chat with me. So if I can, we've just been talking about like the scheduling conflicts and stuff, but if I can make it work to speak to somebody, then I absolutely will.
No, it's a real honour to have you on the channel, mate. And
Yeah.
So, am I right in saying you're a 32-year-old light flyweight who's 7'4"
That's the one.
That's the one, okay. And so if you are new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you need like video, and let's get straight into it. So, I'm going to start with my first question, which I always like to ask, and that is, why did you start boxing?
Started boxing, you probably get this quite a lot, I assume. Started boxing because I was getting into a lot of trouble at school. I was getting into a lot of trouble at football, Sunday league football, both for fighting and sort of physicality and all that sort of stuff. And boxing was something I wanted to try when I was younger, primary school age, and just never kind of did. My mom didn't want a boy fighting, and then I was getting into trouble and fights and stuff as I was getting through my angsty sort of teenage years. So whilst they saw me going down a little bit more of a negative path, my parents said, right, let him start boxing, see if he's as tough as what he thinks he is. He'll probably do it for a couple of weeks, scratch that itch, and then at least he kind of hold it against us and say, you never let me do boxing. So, and they let me go to the gym, and then nearly 18 years later, here we are.
I bet they never expected that, mate.
Absolutely, them, me, probably my first ever coach, none of us.
Great. And so, do you remember what happened in your first amateur fight?
Yeah, I could pretty much talk you through my first amateur fight round by round. It's 2006,
Okay.
and I was warming up, and my coach said to me, like, start to warm up. So I said, all right. So I got down on the floor, started doing press ups and stuff. And my coach was like, what are you doing? He's like, get what you do. I said, but that's how we warm up. That's how we've always warmed up at the gym.
Yeah.
Squats and press ups and jogging on the spot and all that sort of stuff. So I'd never boxed before, so I just thought the way that I warm up at the gym is that obviously just meant skipping, shadow boxing, just limbering yourself up. And there I was doing press ups. And I fought a guy called Frankie Butler, and he said, he popped his head through. He went, are you on fourth? And I said, yeah. He went, me too, good luck. we touched gloves, and then we went to the ring, and then had a really good fight. I hit him with a right hand left hook to the head, and he sort of started to shake on the ropes, and I sprinted over at him, and we just sort of going for it. I boxed really quite well for my first fight. I wasn't naturally a boxer, a silky smooth boxer or anything like that, but I was really trying to put thought into what I was doing. I feinted, sat back, right hand left hook, and caught that. So I was really trying to think it through and not just get overruled with the occasion and start swinging for the fences. And then lost on a split decision, which kind of set the tone for my amateur tenure. Then really virtually everyone in the venue said, I thought you did enough to win. And I thought I did enough to win, but I was new at it. So I was just sort of like, what can I do? Didn't get the nod, but then, kept at it, and my second fight, I knocked a lad out. He's almost a foot bigger than me, and I caught him with a sweet left hook in the first round and knocked him out, and that took us through to Christmas, and then we was into the new year and stuff then. So I remember, to be honest, I think if I had my card in front of me, I had 65 fights as an amateur, but if I think I'd be able to go through my card and kind of talk you through every fight quite vividly. Really, it's just crazy how fast it all passes.
Yeah, definitely, and it's good to see that you can look back on your amateurs with such fond memories. And so, just out of curiosity, I mean, I know the light flyweight division isn't the most kind of stacked of divisions, and were you fighting around that kind of division in the amateurs, and if so, how difficult was it to get matchmaking?
It's really strange. So I where most people go up through the weights as they get older, I've I've gone backwards, and I've got lighter as I've gone on. So the first title that I won in the amateurs, I won the Birmingham featherweight title. Then I won the Midlands bantamweight belt. Then I won the Birmingham and Midlands flyweight vest. Fought as a flyweight in the pros, and then it was only for the Commonwealth Eliminator stuff and lockdown and looking for alternatives and different routes to be able to get fights that I then, because I weighed in at 7 stone 12 for my first ever flyweight contest, and I thought if I could do 7-12 when I was trying to do 8, don't get me wrong, when I say only £2, if everyone could just keep losing only £2, we'd all be like flyweight. So of course you get to a stage where you can no longer lose £2 more. But I thought, I don't see why I wouldn't be able to get another £2 off 2 and a bit pounds if I wasn't even trying to do 7-12 and I did 7-12. Imagine if I was trying to do 7-10, surely I could. And I'd read, cause I like to read and kind of follow lads that are within my weight division. And Neil McCubbin was supposed to be fighting Kyle Youssef, and I think that was scuppered because of lockdown and stuff, I think, or injury or something. It didn't happen anyway. And I remember reading an interview of McCubbin saying he could do light flyweight, but because there are no light flyweights in the country, he's kind of stuck. So I spoke to my team, my coach and manager, Spencer McCracken, and I said, well, what about this Scottish guy? Is unbeaten. He's kind of the A side, if you like. I'll be drafted in as the opponent, but I'm up for the opportunity. Neither of us had done 12 rounds before. I'm up for fighting him, especially after lockdown. You just wanted to get back in there, So I was like, I'll fight him. Let's speak to their manager, and my manager at the time, PJ Rosen, as well. He spoke to the people up in Scotland, and they were doing some partnerships with Dennis Hobson, and he's talking about this new thing called Fight Zone, and they was doing it at like an outdoor arena, and it was all a very new concept at the time. You're like, oh yeah, that sounds good, and before you know it, sort of 9 months have passed, and you're making your ring walk, and you're getting in there to fight an unbeaten prospect in the light flyweight division, and something that hasn't been done or seen in Britain or the Commonwealth for this century. So it was a really nice thing to be a part of, and it's just mad because talking about going down through the weights for the 3 days before the fight, so I weighed in a pound under the light flyweight maximum, so I was £2 over the minimum weight limit, the straw weight limit, and for 3 days in the build up to that fight week before the weigh-in, I didn't do anything for 3 days, not a sweater, not a shadow box. I did a little walk around the block, and that was it. So if I would have had to, I could have done straw weight for that fight. 100%. I could have got two more pounds off, which shows you how little I am, or how dedicated I am, and how I put my body through it. But yeah, weighed in, and I've never felt as strong or as good, to be honest. Despite my next one being at flyweight, the light flyweight is definitely my division.
That's good to hear that you found that. And you kind of touched on the fact of being a bit of an away fighter, and have you never really minded being the away fighter, maybe seemingly having a bit less pressure?
Yeah, I've always preferred it, to be honest with you. I don't think it's so much to do with the pressure or anything. It's all memories for me. Everything's about making memories, and I started off fighting at home and selling tickets and all that sort of stuff, and I'd always cover myself. I'd always do the 100 odd or whatever that you need to do. When I fought for a Masters title, I sold like 160 tickets and stuff. So I have to graft to sell tickets, So if I sell 100 tickets, I've maybe spoke to 250 people about tickets, you know, people, I can't come because my next door neighbour's dog sneezed yesterday, so I can't come. And, you know, you get every excuse in the world and stuff. And then where it kind of became what it is now is, again, more so because of lockdown. So when I did fight McCubbin, there was fans in attendance, but it was sort of June 2021. So we was in the back end of lockdown. There were still restrictions in place. You still couldn't do things indoors. You could do things outdoors, but there needed to be separation. So I think the venue was at a 50% capacity to allow for seats to be vacant and so on and so forth. So it immediately took pressure off ticket sales because they couldn't fill they wasn't allowed to fill the venue, even if you could sell every seat. So that helped. The fact that Dennis Hobson and all the team have put Fight Zone together and was working with a number of different promoters meant there was less of an emphasis on ticket sales anyway. They still want you to sell tickets, obviously, but because me and McCubbin were both sort of, you know, I wasn't going there as a journeyman, for instance, or sort of the away fighter in the sense of he was working with McCubbin's manager and all that sort of stuff, but I wasn't just going for a 4-round journeyman fight or whatever. It was a 12-round Commonwealth Eliminator. So we were both then contributing our half or a percentage to our half of the fight, whereas obviously normally you're trying to sell tickets so that you can pay for your opponent's wages and team and travel and all that sort of stuff. So that's what kind of set it up. And of course, it was such a good fight, one of the fights of the year. That's what then led me to getting the British title shot at flyweight against Tommy Frank. Everyone was expecting me pretty much to get wiped out, and Dave Allen, before the fight, who was on the punditry team, he was like, he's close to slagging me off. You know, he was just like, I can't see how Windle's gonna, you know, stand a chance in this. I think it'll be a stoppage for Frank. He's not going to do blah, blah, blah. And of course, I lost the fight, but I think I won a lot of fans and respect of people, Dennis's included, when they saw that it's all right when I was in the McCubbin fight and I won a bit of a war. It's all right. It's all well and good sort of being, you know, the guy that loves fighting when you win it. But are you the guy that loves it when you're on the wrong end of it? You know, my face was all black and swollen and all the rest of it. And there I was in round 12 still jogging on the spot going, come on, you know, and I love it. And I can take you never want to lose, but I can take my losses the same way I take my victories. And Dave Allen said after the fight, then he said, I will happily pay to watch Matty Windle fight anywhere in the country. You know, so he went from before the fight sort of saying I don't stand a chance to after the fight saying I'll pay to watch him fight wherever he is. So that was nice, and I think I sort of won the hearts of a lot of people. Tommy Frank won the fight, but yeah, I think I won a lot of supporters through my mentality. So off the back of that, then that's then what really kind of set the Commonwealth title stuff up, because I was then there was a bit of sort of politics and stuff. So initially me and McCubbin was going to be for the light flyweight Commonwealth title, then that didn't happen, and Commonwealth sort of said that they wasn't recognised in the light flyweight division anymore. So I then became the #1 contender for the flyweight Commonwealth title. And then because the McCubbin fight was so good, I think it made the Commonwealth Council say, okay, maybe then Jay Harris announced that he was going to have a fight at light flyweight. And the Commonwealth said, okay, maybe this weight division can provide a little bit of interest then. So thankfully to Debbie and everybody at the Commonwealth Boxing Council, they gave me that opportunity to fight for the title in my weight division, because, you know, the boxing in the world now and everything, it's all about equality and everything now. And you know, I've got Kirsty Bavington, they'll fight for a British title against Lauren Price soon, and all the rest of it. Now, you can't tell me that there's millions of women in their weight division, you know, good enough for British title fights either. But I see it as a case of build it and they will come type of thing. So people say, well, there aren't many light flyweights in the country. and there absolutely isn't, because there isn't a British title.
Of course, yeah.
So it's not, the division isn't recognised in the country. So of course there's not going to be many. There wasn't many women boxers in the country when female boxing wasn't recognised by the British Boxing Board of Control, and now it is recognised by the British Boxing Board of Control. Every year it gets bigger and bigger and better and better, and Natasha Jonas has just won the Boxer of the Year, the first female to ever do that. So it's a case of build and they will come. And the one thing that me and McCubbin demonstrated with our fight is, I think, to focus on the quality over the quantity. So if you would have put a British title to that fight, if you would have put a European title, because the EBU also don't recognise the light flyweight division either, if you would have put either of those titles to that fight, I don't think anybody watching would have said, oh, the winner of that fight isn't good enough or doesn't deserve to be the British or European champion. So the quality of fights that the light flyweight division can produce is up there with any other British Commonwealth European title fight. Same then with me and Sifele Maeza when I fought him for the Commonwealth title. Really good fight. It was announced as a Fight Zone Fight of the Year. 11th round knockout as well. People talk about, oh, but the light guys don't punch and there's no knockouts. And McCubbin I put on the floor with a left hook to the body. Maeza I knocked out with a right hand to the head. And then the British title fight, Frank put me down with a right hand. So there are still knockdowns. Frank then put Craig Derbyshire down a couple of times in their British title fight as well. So there are still knockdowns and exciting fights in these weight divisions. It's just a bit of a stigma and a stereotype that has been portrayed and put out there because we're not big, bulking, Anthony Joshua looking type figures. But yes, so I'm really grateful to the Commonwealth for providing me with that opportunity, and yeah, hopefully within Britain, within the EBU, Europe, hopefully, maybe not, like I say, I'm 32 now, maybe it won't be within my career, but maybe one day somebody will be able to become the British light flyweight champion or the European light flyweight champion, and I'll be able to watch from afar and say I was a small part of making that happen. And that's legacy beyond the ring then, and beyond my own sort of personal ambitions. That's something that can potentially benefit the next generations of boxers. So that's my hope.
Yeah, indeed, that's brilliant. And I suppose for you, is it a big compliment for somebody, a company as big as the Commonwealth, to see your fights and be like, wow, that's worth putting in a belt for? Just because, I mean, you're seeing entertainment, and it's seemingly from every single one of your fights, but we're seeing that entertainment, and it must be such a big compliment to then get that belt recognised.
Absolutely, and that's where Neil McCubbin has, you know, we can't speak highly enough of him as well, because like everybody always says, but it takes two to tango. And if I would have just gone in there and blown Neil away within a couple of rounds, all right, people might have been saying, oh, we can punch hard or whatever, but I don't think the Commonwealth would have, they'd have said, oh yeah, he wasn't a good enough opponent, we did the right thing by not putting the Commonwealth title to it, we move on. So the fact that in order to have a fight of the year, it has to be competitive, it has to be exciting, and it has to be back and forth. So we found our dancing partner on that night, and it was a really special night. I'm sure it probably feels a little bit more special for me because I got the decision, but the weather the week before the fight was horrendous. Remember, we was boxing outdoors, so we've got the canopy stuff over, but it was outdoors, right? The weather the week before was horrendous. The weather the week after was horrendous. Our night, it was just a June summer's night. It was boiling. There was a light breeze in the air. His supporters were fantastic. My supporters were amazing. Both wanted their respective fighter to win, but were really respectful to one another. Me and McCubbin were respectful to each other in the build-up to the fight and interviews and stuff. His parents, you know, we shared hugs and stories and stuff after the fight. And the whole thing was just a really special occasion for me. But the fact that it was such a good fight is what made the Commonwealth say, okay, this weight division and these fighters are deserving of a Commonwealth title. So yeah, got to say a huge props to McCubbin as well, because without his efforts, to do all he could to win, I wouldn't have had the chance to get the Commonwealth title, you know. So just massive respect all round to everybody involved.
Definitely, it sounds like a great story. Definitely one to tell the grandkids. And so, just for yourself, I mean, now you're at this point in your career, you've got a big fight coming up, and so what would you say is your main motivation currently?
My main motivation at the moment is to just fight as much as I can for as long as I can. You know, I love boxing. I've been doing it since 3 weeks before my 15th birthday, so technically 14, but I've been doing it since I was 15. Like I say, I'm approaching the 18-year mark within the next few months. And I certainly haven't got 18 years ahead of me in the world of boxing. I don't feel like I'm on the slide. Retirement isn't in my thought process in any regards, but I'm not going to be doing it forever. So life is short, and all the other things that I'm potentially missing out on, food, you know, meals, catch-ups, family time, relationships, whatever it might be that I'm sacrificing, I can hopefully try and catch up on once I'm retired from boxing. So my motivation is to just I'm living a dream, you know. Like I would never have imagined that I would have had British, Commonwealth and European title fights within my career. And if I go on June the 9th, and if I go to Liverpool and become the European flyweight champion, for me, there's no reason why a world light flyweight title opportunity shouldn't be in my horizon. So that you know, that's what, how much more motivation do you need, you know? But just to be involved in those kind of fights, if you think of every single person from a child that first walked through a boxing gym, the doors of a boxing gym, everybody's dream, of course, is always to be a champion of some sort, whether they want to be the area champion or the world champion. Everyone wants to be a champion. And I think probably if you were to work out the amount of people that first ever start boxing, not just pro, but just start boxing at an amateur club, to fighters that then come full cycle into fighting for 12-round title fights, it's probably less than 1%. So I'm doing something now that less than 1% of boxers get to do, and everybody thinks that boxing is 12 rounds and title fights and millions of pounds and all that sort of stuff. But of course that isn't the case. So every single week, I've said this a few times in interviews and stuff now, but every single Friday I would used to watch Friday Fight Night, and it would be a British, Commonwealth or European title every single week. Likes of Chris Edwards, Paul Edwards, Shinny Bayar, Rendell Munro, Cole Froch before he was Cole Froch, you know, David Hay before he was David Hay, and so on and so forth. And I used to watch these fights on the settee as a teenager every single week, and I would never ever in my wildest dreams have imagined that could be me. One day, I was like, if I can, as an amateur, I was like, if I can just be the Birmingham champion, if I could become champion of Birmingham, second city of England, I'm happy. And then when I turned pro, it's like, if I could win an area title, if I could become Midland champion, I'd be a professional boxing champion. But the one thing going, of course, they're 10-round fights. So going into the McCubbin fight, I said, regardless of what happens, whether I get knocked out in the first round or win on points, I can say that I've walked to the ring and trained for a 12-round fight. So I could watch Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, you know, everybody in the future walk into the ring for a 12-round fight and say, I've done that. And there are so many boxers, even successful boxers, that have never competed or completed 12-round fights. You know, some fighters that are really noticeable still have never done 12-round fights, or they've been in a 12-round fight but got stopped in the 4th round or something like that. So the fact that I'm now going into my 4th 12-round fight, and it's only my 13th pro fight, and this is going to be my third unbeaten fighter in 4 fights. I think just shows you my character, and every boxer says things like, I'll fight anybody, and I think pretty much any boxers will. I think it's the team that often keep them safe or take them on another path or whatever, because we can be a bit too brave for our own good sometimes. But yeah, I think I'm just living a life in boxing, aside from the finances not being amazing, that most people would dream about. British, Commonwealth, European titles. People have, I've grown up, like I say, I was never the silky smooth boxer. I'm not a Frankie Gavin, naturally talented. Everything I do is just work ethic and graft and a good mindset. I listen to my coach, Spencer McCracken. Everything that he tells me, I take on board. I try and implement it. Not always successfully, but it's not through pea-headedness. I try and take it on board as best as I can. And yeah, so literally memories and enjoyment are why I'm doing it. And you can probably tell from my facial expressions and stuff as I talk about it, but I love doing this. And there's just no fear, when you haven't got that record and all the rest of it. Of course you want to win, but it's not like, if I lose, what do I do? Because like I say, I'm moving up in weight for my next fight, Commonwealth, European titles, but I'm still going to be the light flyweight Commonwealth champion as well. But I'm not going into this fight just to make up the numbers. I want to become the European champion, because the Commonwealth title, I've noticed, has kind of elevated my profile somewhat. And when people know now that you're the Commonwealth champion and you've done 12 rounds and all the things I've talked about, they just have a little bit of a different respect for you. They put a little bit, because they respect on my name and all that sort of stuff. But you just feel like Matt's a boxer. Oh, right, okay. He's a professional Commonwealth champion. Oh, right, okay. And you just get a different response from people. And of course, I work with young people a lot in schools as well. So I take the belt for them to see. And it's such an inspiring thing for me to see how inspired they get by seeing the belt. And they're all clamoring over it, and they're just trying to touch it. And the primary schools that I visit, they're like, oh, is it real gold? Is it real gold? And they hold it, or they'll come into me at break time or lunch time. They'll be like, Miss, can I see Matt? I just want. And they'll be like, no, Matt's having his lunch. Let him. And like, oh, I just wanted a selfie. I'll be like, nah, it's all right. Come in if you want to give up part of your lunchtime to have a picture with me and the belt. I can give up a bite of my sandwich for you to have a picture with the belt. Do you know what I mean? Like that's so. Yeah, to be able to then bring in a European title to show them as well, just keep that upward trajectory going. And lived a little bit of a Cinderella story so far. So why not? Like I say, Neil McCubbin unbeaten. Thankfully, I managed to take that O. Sifilele Maeza unbeaten, managed to take his O. Now Conor Butler, he's unbeaten, so the plan is to take his O, and then be the European and Commonwealth flyweight champion.
Yes, indeed, man. That's the next step. I mean, I can definitely tell you're a mentor. I mean, the way you speak and the way you have inspirational stories, you're making me inspired, man. And
Thank you.
It's brilliant. And so just for, you do your mentoring, and you spoke about how it can inspire them, and how important is it to inspire the next generation for you?
Massively, not because the one thing I do when I go into schools is I say to them, I'm not trying to, because I do obviously my poetry and stuff as well, so I say, I'm not trying to convince you that poetry or boxing are the best things in the world. What I am saying is that poetry and boxing are the best things in the world for me. Yeah. And you will have things that are the best things in the world for you. And some of them might be really, really popular amongst your friendship group, like being a teenage lad that wants to be a boxer. And some of them might not be so popular amongst your friendship group, like being a teenage lad that wants to be a poet. And both are okay. Yeah. I say, and I always kind of make them chuckle. I say, like, it's okay for you to have different interests to your friends and still be friends.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't always have to like all of the same things. If your values are the same, if you have respect, good communication, trust, if your values align, then it's likely you'll be friends with one another, and you'll support and you'll encourage your friend in what it is that they want to do, because you understand that them wanting to do it, they're not enforcing you to do it. You don't have to do it. You know, they don't have to become a ballet dancer or a builder or a beautician or a poet or whatever, because they can go and do what they're passionate about. And I think we'd be a much happier society if we could find a line of work, I know it might be easier said than done, but that ties in with our passions and with our childhood passions. So my little catchphrase, my little mantra that I say to them is just pursue your passions, highlight something that you're passionate about, that you're good at, and go for it. And you find a lot of the times that the people that are good at something enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. Are they good at it because they enjoy it, or do they enjoy it because they're good at it? But when we can implement fun and enjoyment with our craft, our learning, our lifestyles, our career, then there's more chance you're going to enjoy it and excel at it. So I'm not there to make them all want to be boxing poets. Of course, I expect them to, when we've got a lesson, follow the instructions and give the lesson a go and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not saying they have to love the things that I love. I want to give them the confidence to pursue and go, oh, well, you know, Matt's friends might have took the mick out of him for being a poet, but he'd become a poet anyway, so I'm going to become a... And then it's up to them to fill in the blank. Doesn't matter to me then, you know. So yeah, and of course just being able to give them a means of expression, so they can physically express themselves, or they can maybe more emotionally express themselves. But I think for young people nowadays, being able to productively and efficiently get your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions out, communication is something it's quite limited for young people now. They can't necessarily articulate, or they struggle to articulate how they're feeling. So if I can try and help them with that and have positive communication with one another, whether that's face to face, whether that's through online social media, and just thinking about what we say, how we say it, and how we communicate with other people, then yeah, hopefully it should make kind of all of their lives a little bit smoother.
No, definitely. Well, I mean, we're a little bit short on time here. I don't want to cut you off or anything, and I really appreciate your time. It's been great to have you on. I'm sure we'll have to do this again sometime, and I'll leave it with this final question, which I always like to ask, and that is, would you like to shout anything out, mate?
So if possible, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my sponsors that are supporting me. So despite being in the office and at work now, my bosses at work have allowed me to take a little step back from work. So I'm more part-time rather than full-time. And that's largely with the backing of sponsors and stuff that I have. So MC Bargains, Budbury Birmingham, House of Cavani, Baxter Williams, I really appreciate the support that they've given me, and they'll all. But I'll be logoed off my nut come fight night, so people can follow my socials and stuff and find out more about the people that support me as well. But what I like is they're all local businesses. Some of them are still nationwide, but they're local. They're Birmingham-based businesses supporting and backing me, not because I'm a millionaire, million follower type fighter with 1 million views or anything like that, but they're local people supporting a local person trying to pursue his passion, practice what he preaches. So yeah, a massive thank you to all those that are supporting me.
Brilliant, a nice one. Okay, well, thank you very much, mate. Best of luck with this upcoming fight of yours.
Thank you so much.
Like we said, I'm
get
sure
a nice blue and gold belt next time I see you.
Yes, man, definitely. And I'm sure, I mean, I'll try my best one day to come down to one of your fights. I'm sure it'll be the best thing ever. And
I
Brilliant.
think my next fight on June 9th, that's going to be broadcast live on the BBC as well. So if anybody watching does want to, again, you can just go on like the BBC Sport boxing schedule. It's weird actually because you've got Clarissa Shields at the top of it, and then Josh Taylor at the bottom of it, and then little Matty Windle from Birmingham in the middle. So you got Clarissa Shields, Matt Windle, Josh Taylor, one week after the other. So yeah, if anybody wants to tune in, please do, and I'm sure you will enjoy.
Brilliant. Nice one, mate. Okay, and so if you're on the around 10, subscribe, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and thanks for